Hello children, we're going to be working on multiple step equations. I'm going to first work through one of the problems that we did not do in class, and then I might help you with one of the problems that we did do in class, and hopefully that'll help you out. So I'm going to start with number 4 that we did not do in class for most classes. I'm going to draw my line. I have to do a distribution here of the -5. There is no distribution to be done over here. So first I'll multiply the -5 times x and the -5 times a +4, and I get a 5x plus a -20. Sorry about that. Now I don't have a distribution to do over here, but I'm going to go ahead and do a associative step. I can do a 12 minus a 40. The -7x won't change, but 12 minus 40 is going to be my -28. So on this side I have -28 minus 7x. On that side I have -5x plus -20. Now I'm going to circle my x's, see how many I have. In this case I have 2, which is too many. I need to get rid of 1. I, as a general rule, always get rid of the smallest value x, but really it doesn't matter. If you want to always move your x's to the left, you can do that. You may end up with negative x's from time to time. I personally don't like ending up with negative x's, so I always start with the lowest value of x. In this case, -7 is a lower value than -5. So to get anytime you want a number or a variable to move across the center line, you have to disguise it by putting the opposite. The opposite of a -7x is a +7x, so I'll add that to both sides. So -28 carries down, there's nothing to do with it, and then the 7x becomes a 0 pair. -5x plus a 7x ends us with a plus 2x. And then we still have -20 on this side. Now to solve this, I circle my x's. I see that I now have 1x. I need to get rid of anything that's with that x. In this case, I'm subtracting a 20, so I'll add 20 to get rid of it. And I end up with 2 x's being equal to a -8. Now I can separate my coefficient from my x by either multiplying or dividing. In this case I'm multiplying by 2, so the opposite is to divide by 2. The only way to separate a number or fraction from a variable is through multiplication or addition. In this case it was going to be division, because 2x is multiplication. So x is -4. If I want to scroll down and do if I want to go down and do a word problem, we're going to look at number 6. Two coats and 4 dresses cost $420 each. If each dress costs $50, how much do the coats cost each? So first I can turn this into an equation. 2c plus 4d equals 420. So c represents the number of coats. I'm sorry, c represents the cost of the coats. D represents the cost of the dresses. Since there are 2 coats, it would be 2 times the cost, and 4 dresses, 4 times the cost of a dress. If I add those together, it would add up to $420. Now I do know the cost of a dress is $50, so I can substitute that into my equation. So 2c plus 4 times 50 should equal $420. 2c equals 200, plus 200 equals 420. I circle. I only have one variable, which is a c, so I'm going to subtract a 200 from it. So now I have 2c is equal to 220. Separate the 2 from the c by dividing, because this is multiplication. So the value of 1c is 110. So now let's take a look at one of the problems on your homework, which you'll be doing pages 4 and 5. So let's take a look at number 2, the hard one. I have 2 distributions to do. So I'm going to multiply 2 times an x and 2 times a 1, and then I'm going to multiply 3 times a 3 and 3 times a 2x. I'm going to keep both sides separate, but I will work on them at the same time. There's nothing to do with the 3x, so I bring that -3x down. 2 times an x is 2x, 2 times a +1 is 2, 3 times a 3 is 9, and 3 times a 2x is 6x. Now I look and see if there's anything that I can group together. I have two x's on this side, so I'm going to use the commutative property to move them next to one another. Again, there's nothing to do over here. Now I use the associative property to figure out what exactly I'm going to do. I'm going to take 2x's and subtract 3x's. That leaves me a negative x plus 2, 9 plus 6x. Circle my x's. Once again, I have too many x's, so I need to get rid of 1. 6 is bigger than a negative 1x, so I have to get rid of it by doing the opposite. So 2 equals 9 plus 7x's. I need to get rid of what's on the outside of my variable circle. In this case, I have added 7x's. On the outside of it is a positive 9. To get rid of it, I have to subtract 9. So I do that to both sides. And now I can divide away my coefficient. Now, if I've done everything properly, I can go back in and check my solution. That's what I want y'all to do. Check your solution by substituting negative 1 into the equation. 2 times the sum of x plus 1 minus 3x's equals 3 times the sum of 3 plus 2x's. Replace the x's, all 3 x's, with a negative 1 and see what happens. You will find that you should get the same number on each side unless I made a mistake. Now let's try a word problem. Let's try a really hard word problem. Number 6, Charles has been asked to insert a trapezoid into the floor tiling of a rotunda of the courthouse. One base must be 8 feet and the height must be 10 feet. What generalized equation can be used to represent the area of a trapezoid as a function of the second base? So one base is 8, the height is 10. So base 1 is 8, height equals 10. Base 2 is, I don't know. Base 1 is 8, height is 10. Base 2 is, I don't know. The equation for a trapezoid, the area of a trapezoid, is 1/2 of the sum of base 1 plus base 2 times the height. So if base 1 is 8, I don't know base 2, but I do know the height is 10. The next one, it's going to work it out. So if I know that this is my general equation, I want the area to be 65, so I just set this equation equal to 65. Now notice I'm multiplying by half and then I'm multiplying by 10. So let's take that step by step. So 1/2 times 8 and 1/2 times x. So half of an 8 is 4 plus 1/2 x times 10 should equal 65. Now I'm going to distribute this 10 to each. 10 times 4 is 40. 10 times half of an x is 5 x's, and that should equal 65. Circle my x's. I have 1x, so I can get rid of this positive 40. So 5x should equal 25. Divide by 5. X equals 5. Seemed like it was a really hard problem. If you don't know the area of a trapezoid, you might want to start memorizing it. It's you add the two bases together, multiply it by half, and then multiply by the height. Or you can multiply it by half of the height of the two bases. There are a lot of ways you can write this formula: base plus height, base plus add the bases, multiply by height, divide the whole thing by 2. You could say half of the base plus half of the height times the height would work as well. But I always just default to 1/2 times the sum of the bases times the height. Once you know the equation, it's pretty easy to plug in the different numbers and come up with a solution. Now to make sure it's right, we have to go back and see if it works. So 1/2 of 8 plus 5 times 10 should equal 65, correct? So I just substitute the 5 that I said x was. So half of 13 times 10 should equal 65, or half, now this time I'm going to multiply by 10 first, of 130 should equal 65, and guess what? It is. So I know that I'm good. Hope this helped. Finish the other problems, and you should make a pretty good grade on this if you understand these walkthroughs.